We're very fortunate today to have a very good friend of Arkansas with us. Lou Holtz came to Arkansas in 1976 as head coach of the University of Arkansas. He was elected Coach of the Year in 1977 as well as Arkansas's Man of the Year. We're very fortunate to have him here to help talk to us today about money magic. Hi, Lou, and welcome.
Well, hi, Mary Ann. I'm very happy to be here, and I don't know how much I know about money, but I am happy to be here.
Thank you. Well, we do know that you know a lot about goal setting, and we thought you could share some of that with us today.
Well, when I was young, maybe 10, 11 years of age, I'd want to go somewhere. My father would say, well, where are you going? I'd say, oh, I don't know, Dad. We're just going to go out and run with a gang for a while. And he'd always look at me and say, well, how are you going to know when you get there? And I think that's always made an impression upon me, and that's why you have a road map to show you where you want to go and how you can possibly get there. We have to set goals at the University of Arkansas on our football team. I think it's the most single important item that you have to do in this world. When I met with our football squad for the first time, which I believe was January 14th, 1977, and we were picked to finish sixth in the conference, but we told our squad at that time our goal was to win a national championship. And that seemed rather ridiculous and ludicrous, but 15 years from now, when the athletes come back, they're going to tell a lot of crazy, insane stories about me. The one thing I never want an athlete to say is, boy, if Coach Holtz only believed in us, if he only knew how good we wanted to be or what price we're willing to pay, we could have won the national championship. So I think not only are goals very important, but setting your goals extremely high are important. I thought H.L. Hunt, the very wealthy individual that obviously knows something about money, had a great philosophy when he said, they asked him what was his secret for success. He said, one, I decided what I want. Two, I decide what price I'm willing to pay, and that is important. You have to set a goal and decide what price you're willing to pay in order to get it. And then three, he just gets on with it. So I'd have to say that goals have always been as important thing in my life as anything. And it's not just money, it's not just football, but there's also important things about goals health-wise. I was chairman of the Cancer Crusade in the state of North Carolina, and I was privileged to know a young lady who had cancer in Winston-Salem. When her son was 5, or her husband had died, they gave her approximately 8 months to live. And she said she was going to see her son graduate. She lived until he was 21 years of age, and she died a month after he graduated. So, you have to have goals, and people talk about money problems, financial problems. If you don't have a goal of what you want to accomplish, that's what caused you to save money. My youngsters are a great example of it, Mary Ann. They wanted a moped. And I said, there's no way you're going to get a moped. Can't get insurance on you, and I don't, just don't trust you on them, et cetera. And you're going to have to pay it up for your own. Well, I want to tell you, they've saved money, they've worked, they've done things around that house that I haven't been able to get them to do in 8 years. But all of a sudden, they have a goal of something they want to accomplish, and boy, work is nothing to them. They're looking for things that they might possibly be able to do because they have a goal of what they want to do eventually.
Wonderful, wonderful. How about in your personal finances? Do you set goals there?
Well, yeah, there's certain things I want to accomplish. I've had 2 goals financially all my life. One, I've never wanted to be was real rich. I never wanted to have so much money or worried about losing it. The other thing I've never wanted to be in my life was real poor. I never wanted to have to look at a price tag to decide whether I want something. Now, when I was in college, and I came from a rather poor background, but a lovely family, but we never had very much money, but I never knew we were poor. My father used to always jokingly said, well, you always had plenty to eat, because every time I asked for seconds, he'd say, no, you've already had plenty. But people would say, hey, you need a haircut. Go look in the mirror. I always looked in my wallet. That determined whether I needed a haircut or not. But I've never wanted to be rich. I never wanted to be poor, and I've had certain goals. To me, a home was always an important thing to me, and I've always made it since maybe I was 12 years old that I wanted to have a nice home with a nice yard because I enjoy working in the yard, and I can't tell you why, but that's always been important to me.
Excellent. That's very good. Well, we've seen evidence of your goal setting and what it's done in Arkansas, and we really appreciate that. I'd like to know, how do you feel about when it comes to decision making?
Well, I think, you have to have the courage to make a decision on anything. When it comes time to make, decisions on money matters, you have to say, is this important to me? For example, you might have $50 and I have $50. You may want to take it down and throw it in the church and say, boy, that's the way I want to spend that money. I may want to take that $50 and go buy some clothes, or somebody else may want to take the $50 and throw a party, whatever the case may be. So what you have to decide on money is what's important to you. And I think that there are certain guidelines you have to have, at least I try to utilize in my life on my finances, but it in essence comes down to what's important to me. Somebody says, how could you spend $200 for that art painting? I'd say that because I don't appreciate art. I don't know what art is, but boy, if they spend the money on that picture, it's important to them. Hey, so be it. That's why you have a lot of different people.
Well, then what you're saying would be good to set priorities. If you have goals, and then it would be good to set priorities to make decisions to reach that goal. Is that correct?
I think you have to have priorities on what's important to you. You know, I am on this show, and I'm happy to be here. But I'm going to tell you, I do not consider myself a financial wizard, nor am I very smart. I ranked 234 in class 278. But to me, if it's got to be important to you to be financially solvent. A lot of people say, well, only the rich can save money. And I say only those that save money are rich. It's what you do with the money and whatever you have. I'm a great believer you got to save something every single month. You got to take some of that money and you got to pay yourself before you pay anybody else. In other words, it's just like a bill. I'm going to save $20 a month because that's important to me to be independent. I think you have to have priorities of what you want, because that's what really gets you up out of bed and goes. It's that self-pride, and, you know, there's just no way that I can really put into words how to express. But money's not important to me. I could care less about money. What money does is important to me, but as far as just money and being wealthy is not. But I think people have to put a priority and a budget. They talk about a budget all the time. There's only one criteria I use on a budget. I can't spend more than I make. And so many times when I first started out, when I got out of college, I was going to set up a budget. First time I got my paycheck, how am I going to do it? And what would happen, in essence, I would budget everything, and I would leave no room for the little things that come up. And when the things come up, you have to ask yourself the question again, and it comes back to what you said about decision making. Do I go over my budget? And the answer is it that important to me? Or is it more important to be financially solvent, financially independent? For example, in coaching. In coaching, it's important to me to be able to be independent. When you're young, you have youth. You can always be independent when you're young. When you're old, you better have something that you can rely back on in order to make the decisions that you think is in the best interest of everybody concerned.
That's excellent. I appreciate that. You talked about goals, priorities, saving. That's very good, and keeping in the budget. That's helpful. I've learned a lot. I hope you have too. Thank you. Thank you, Lou, for being here.
Thank you.